When I converted to Christianity, I received the death penalty. I was able to escape from my house arrest. I escaped to Sinai, and in Sinai, I hide with Bedouin family. And that's when I decide I will be crossing to Israel. Why Israel? Listen, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. I stole a jet ski from Taba, from Hilton Taba, to Princess Hotel in Eilat. So it was something out of James Bond movie. I was in Beersheba prison for 1 year, 3 months, 15 days, 12 hours, 24 minutes. During this time, I learned the Hebrew language, and the Israeli Supreme Court started to look at my case, and I become a free man in Jerusalem.
He was born into one of Egypt's most influential Muslim families. At just 20 years old, he was imprisoned, brutally tortured, and sentenced to death for his faith. He escaped Egypt on a stolen jet ski and found refuge in the one country he had been taught to hate, Israel. But surviving wasn't the end of his story, it was only the beginning. Over the last 25 years, he's gone back into some of the world's most dangerous places, rescued hundreds of women and children from ISIS, investigated war crimes, stood with victims of terrorism, and became one of the strongest voices defending both religious freedom and Israel. Today, we're not just revisiting the story you've heard before, we're asking the questions no one has asked about courage, fear, forgiveness, Israel, October 7th, and the moments that changed him forever. Majed El Shafie, welcome to Stand Tall Israel.
Thank you for having me, Danny.
Before the prison, before the death sentence, before the world knew your name, who were you growing up? Maybe take us back to your childhood.
I was born from a wonderful Muslim family back home in Egypt. My uncle was a judge in the Egyptian Supreme Court. My father is a lawyer. My brother is a lawyer. I was born with a whole library in my bedroom full of books about law, justice, human right, freedom. I read and I believed in every and each one of these books. My mom, from very young age, she teach us never hate anybody, never hate Jews, Christians, any minorities. It's always start by home. The home is always your first line of defense. After I finished my high school, I went to the law school in Alexandria to become a lawyer like the rest of my family. That's when the reality of the persecution of the Christian minorities in Egypt really shocked me to the core. Let me just explain something for the people who doesn't know the history of Egypt very well. Egypt was a Christian country until the 7th century. Until a man by the name Omar ibn al-As, he entered Egypt and he forced the Christians to convert from Christianity to Islam. In Egypt today, there is laws like Al-Khatt al-Hamayuni law that you cannot build church without a permission from the president of Egypt. You can build bar, discotheque, but not a church or synagogue per se. There is thousands of Christians in Egypt in prison right now just because they are Christians and just because they are minorities. So all of this evidence make me wonder as a young Muslim man, why there is persecution happening to Christianity, to Christians. In reality, Daniel, I truly believe that you don't persecute somebody unless you're scared from the truth that they carry. I don't believe that they're persecuting us. I believe that they persecute Christ in us. Example, just to make an example, I live in downtown Toronto today, and Jehovah Witness used to come knock on my door every Saturday. I never persecuted them. I never yelled at them, never. The opposite. I always open the door for them, welcome. I give them, a cup of tea and cookie, and we sit down and we'll talk. After they come in, I lock the door so they cannot leave. But that's a different discussion. Then we'll talk about this in another program. When you are standing on the rock of your faith, the true faith, in my humble opinion, you are not scared of anything. Light never scared of darkness. The point here is, as a Muslim young man, make me wonder why there is persecution. That's when I start to read the Bible. And within the Bible, the first verse I ever read the Bible was John 8, when they brought a lady commit adultery and throw her in front of the Lord and told him, if you are really Son of God, judge her according to the law of Moses. And he said, who without sin cast the first stone? This was my first time, my interaction or my knowledge of Jesus' doctrine and belief. And everybody left, and he said, who without sin cast the first stone? And according to our belief, that the only person have no sin was Christ himself. And he looked at this lady and he told her, go sin no more, I forgive you. The message of forgiveness, the doctrine of forgiveness, this idea of somebody loved me so much that he's willing to sacrifice himself for me, is willing to die for me, is willing to forgive me. This idea was never ever founded in Islam per se. So that's when I took a decision to convert from Islam to Christianity. Now, to make something clear, and I'm not trying to be politically correct here, my conversion from Islam to Christianity is not a matter of debate of religion, it's a matter of freedom of religion. You know, you want today in our world, you want to be a Jewish, you want to be Christian, you want to be a Muslim, you want to be Hindu, Sikhs, you want to be atheist. It's between you and God, it's not between me and you as a society, as long as you are not hurting the society, as long as you are not interfering in my business or forcing me to believe in whatever you believe. So it's a matter of freedom of religion. That's when I was arrested. When I was in my 20s, I was taken to Abu Zabad prison for 7 days. I was tortured for 7 days, horrible torture every day. Day number 1, they shaved the hair of my head. They put my head in cold and hot water. Day number 2, they hang me upside down. I still have the scars on my body. Day number 3, when they asked me, they wanted to know the name of my organization that I created in Egypt. When I converted to Christianity, I refused to remain silent, because silent, the world will not remember the words of our enemy, but will remember the silence of our friends. In the absence of light, darkness prevailed. The worst thing that we can do when we see injustice, that we become silent. When we see injustice, you will have only 2 options in your life: to become part of the problem or the heart of the solution. And it's really your choice. Just remember one thing, though, when you remain silent, that even if they are quiet about you tomorrow, because you become silent about the people before you, one day they will come at you. So keep in mind, remaining silent today, even if you are not Jewish, even if you are not Yazid, even if you are not, whatever minority group, Ismaili, whatever, whatever minority groups, Uyghurs, Tibetan, Falun Gong, if you remain silent today, thinking that I will be safe, I don't need to be part of this problem. You're already part of this problem, and one day your turn will come. And that's just the truth. So I created human rights organization in Egypt, and I wrote a book about the difference between Islam and Christianity and the Christian history in Egypt that they try to erase, and led me to torture, hanging me upside down, crucifying me for 2 days and a half, put salt and lemon in the open wounds. One of the miracles that happened to me is that I'm talking about Daniel in the lion den. When they released 3 dogs to attack me, the dogs didn't attack me. And many people, they say, but we don't believe in miracles. We don't understand. What is this? I tell them, listen, he is the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and forevermore. Our Bible said that. And God saved my life. I received the death penalty. I was able to escape. I'm telling you very, very long story short for the people who's listening. I received the death penalty. I was able to escape from my house arrest. I went first to Alexandria, behind the police station. Why behind the police station? Because this is the last place that the police would try to find you. After that, I escaped to Sinai, and in Sinai, I hide with Bedouin family. And that's when I decide I will be crossing to Israel. Why Israel? Listen, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Let's just be logical here for a second. I didn't know anything about Israel. The only thing that I know about Israel is what we hear in the media, is what we see in the schools. And I remember when I was 9 years old in my school, the history teacher used to teach us, hate Israel, and the peace agreement is just a temporary peace. And in the age of 9 years old, I stood up and I said, if we have peace, why are we talking about war? And because I asked this simple, innocent question, by the way, it's normal, innocent child question. I received 5 hit with a stick in my hand, my left hand and my right hand. And when I went crying at home, my mother asked me, "Why are you crying?" And I told her, "It's not because it's hurting me. Like the hate itself did not hurt me per se. I'm not tougher than that. But the injustice of getting hit for no reason." And I remember my mom looked at me with her beautiful black eyes and she said, dark eye, and she said, "Son, we don't hate anybody. We don't hate Jews. We don't hate Christians. We don't hate anybody. This home does not have a hate." Next day, she went to the school. She grabbed the teacher from his neck and she beat the crap out of him. Egyptian mom. You have Jewish mom, we have Egyptian mom. It's very similar. So, anyway, so I was able. I stole a jet ski from Taba, from Hilton Taba, to Princess Hotel in Eilat. At the time, there was a Princess Hotel. I don't think it's there anymore. So it was something out of James Bond movie, basically. I surrendered to the Israeli authority, and that's when they opened investigation about the case. I was in Beersheba prison for 1 year, 3 months, 15 days, 12 hours, 24 minutes. You count the minutes when you're innocent. During this time, I learned the Hebrew language, and I start to, Amnesty International, United Nations, the Israeli Supreme Court, start to look at my case, and I become a free man in Jerusalem. I lived in Bisgaz with a Christian organization called the International Christian Embassy Jerusalem, and they adopted me. And through the UN in Israel and Amnesty International, Sharon Harel, I think she's still the UN in Israel until today. Wonderful, wonderful woman, just wonderful person who received my call late in the night, and she took the case like her own. And she fought for me, and I become a free man for another year and a half in Jerusalem, and 3 countries accepted me, was Denmark, Australia, and Canada. And I prayed to the Lord, and I said, "Lord, which country?" And the Lord said, "Canada." The Lord forget to tell me it's 20 below zero in the winter, but that's a different story. Anyway, so I came here to Canada, and I can tell you, yes, it's very cold in the winter, but it's very warm people. Such a beautiful country, and I'm so blessed to call myself Canadian today. Funny story, when I become a Canadian, the Canadian judge asked me, "What the first thing you want to do as a Canadian, son?" I told him, "Your Honor, I want to drink beer, watch hockey, and complain about the weather." He told me, "Son, you're a true Canadian." I told him, "Thank you." I created One Free Word International. I didn't want a job from 9 to 5. It's not my life. I want to continue the fight. And we fought for standing against anti-Semitism, against the persecution of all minorities, not just the Christians, Uyghurs, Tibetan, Falun Gongs, Ismailis, Shias, wherever you are. And we went to the front lines from Ukraine to Afghanistan to Pakistan, Iraq, Syria, Sudan, Iran. Now we're trying to do some humanitarian work there. So it is the journey. It is the journey that God blessed me with it, and I'm very thankful to the Lord, by all means. And now I'm sitting down with another brother of mine and having an interview. So that's a blessing. Thank you.
Of course, you gave up there was a big heavy price for this freedom. Um, Looking back, what does it feel like for you to give up so much for this? Do you miss your family? Do you miss the old life or anything like that?
I miss my family every day. I miss Egypt every day. They can take me out of my land, Daniel, but they cannot take my land out of me. As much as you love Israel, I love Egypt. As much as this is your roots, and this is my roots. One time I had, without saying the media outlet, I had an interview with an outlet, international outlet. And at the end of the interview, the host asked me a question I don't think anybody asked me before. He said, "Aren't you scared to die?" I looked at him and I told him, "Listen, I would tell you what I'm scared of." And the guy was really interested to know. I told him, "I'm not scared to die because I know death is part of life. And according to my belief, when I die, I will be with God. So I'm not really scared of that. And I don't worship God, Daniel, out of my fear from hell. or out of my desire for heaven. Because if you did this, if you worship God just out of fear from hell, you're a slave. If you worshiped him out of desire for heaven, you're a businessman. You're trying to do business with God. But when you are worshiping God because you love him, because he is worthy of your worship, you're a free man. So I told him I'm not scared of that. I told him, let me tell you what I'm scared of. I'm scared to wake up one morning and I don't care. I'm scared one morning to wake up and don't care about people, don't care about justice. I'm scared to wake up in the morning with no conscience, with no principles or values. I'm not scared to die for them. I'm scared not to have them. And there is many people today in our world, they wake up every morning and they don't care. For me, they are the one is dead, not me.
Exactly. Now, obviously, you said you grew up in Egypt and your family was not into hating other people. They were very open. But majority of Egyptians listen to Al Jazeera. They listen to the brainwashing about Israel. Once you got to Israel and you saw what life was like, what were some of the biggest lies that collapsed for you once you lived in Israel?
That they are normal people. I think the projection that we see that they are just monsters walking on earth. There are people that they have their own dreams and they have their own hopes, their own desire for living, to have children, to be able to leave their home wearing a kippah or wearing a Star of David and not to be attacked. To know that you are leaving in the morning without fear that maybe you will not return in the evening to see your kids. When October 7 happened, I had the privilege of meeting many of the family of the victim. One of them was Deferred, a young lady by the name Deferred. Her family is very religious family in Israel, and she went to the Nova with her friends. And she never returned back. She died. And when part of the movie that we did about October 7, Dying to Live, was about her, Deferred. And her uncle and her father now is a very close friend of mine, and her aunt, Harel, is like a brother to me now, Harel, especially Harel, the uncle. And the biggest lie, see, I would share with you funny things. In the old days, anti-Semitism was very clear. Hate the Jews, kill the Jews. Can we be honest together, Daniel, without politically correctness? Like, like me and you will believe the politically correctness is the very cancer in our Western society. So let's just be honest. In the old days, like Hitler's speech, kill the Jews, hate the Jews. End of the story. Now there is a new different kind of anti-Semitism, and it's about Israel, not the Jews. So it's exactly the same speech, but instead of saying Jew, just put Israel or Zionist, you know. But it's the same exact speech, it's the same exact anti-Semitism. I have no problem that you criticize Israel. I criticize Israel. Israel is a country like any country. Jewish people like every people, they make mistakes. The IDF make mistakes and they admitted it. That's not the Israeli government make mistakes and they admitted it. The Israeli people make a mistake and they admitted it. Criticize Israel as much as you wish. In a matter of fact, I lived in Israel and I know the Israeli culture. There is nobody criticize Israel or the Israeli government more than the Israelis. There was always an old joke. If you have two Jews arguing together, you have three opinions. You know what I mean? Criticize Israel if you wish. But you cannot take from Israel the right to exist and the right to defend itself, or that will be the new anti-Semitism that we see today. So, in reality, the biggest lie is Israel have no right to exist. Israel have no right to defend itself, and if it did, they are criminals. It's a genocide, and we're fighting for Hamas. That most of the people that outside in the streets today demonstrating for Gaza, they don't even know with Gaza in the map, they don't even know what is Hamas. Hamas is a government that took all the rights from their own people, all the resources. They attacked even the Egyptian borders, the only people that was helping them during Mohammed Morsi, the Muslim Brotherhood president. Hamas, the leadership living in 7 stars hotel, eating caviar, and their people is starving. And instead of building, hospitals and schools and improving their life, they are building tunnels. They're fighters, fighting underground, using their own people as a human shield. What are you fighting for? What are you what are you defending? What Hamas? So everybody comes and say free Gaza. I agree with you. Listen, Daniel, I will go outside right now for a demonstration about free Gaza. Right now. I agree with you. Let's free Gaza, but let's free Gaza from Hamas so the people can live. Let's free Iran from the regime. Let's free Lebanon from Hezbollah. Let's free all of this. Let's free Yemen from the Houthis. I'm not against free Gaza. The opposite. I want Gaza to be free. And once Gaza is free from Hamas, there will be improvement, rebuilding, rebuilding cooperation, opening the borders. We want to give them. I never sat down with an Israeli official or Israeli person in the street and he said, I wish to kill all the Palestinians. Never. No, I'm serious. Even in officials. Some of them even upset about what's happening in Gaza, like some of the Israeli, citizens. They want to live with them in peace. They just give us an opportunity to live with you peace. Don't forget that before October 7, Israel, especially the kibbutzim, there was many of them was crossing over to Gaza, bringing the kids to receive treatment in Israel, and there was a lot of going back and forth. The name of my movie, the documentary about October 7, Dying to Live. Just from the name, Dying to Live. The Israelis dying every day just to live peacefully. And that's just the reality. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you've documented genocide around the world. Did October 7th have a different feel for you? Did it shock you? Why did you feel personally responsible to return to Israel?
I needed to return the favor. God used Israel to save my life, and I needed to return back. You see, the documentary was not about the political arena. Because you see, what's happening right now is people will talk about the Israeli file, the Palestinian file. That's have October 7 have nothing to do with the political arena. It doesn't matter where you're standing, on which side. And by the way, I don't take sides. It's not that I'm pro-Israel or anti-Palestinian. I am pro-truth and I'm anti-stupidity. That's what I am. So the documentary Dying to Live that we did as One Free World International with One Media, Chris Atkins, we were very keen on looking at the human element of the situation because it doesn't matter where you're standing on Israel, on the Palestinian and the Israeli file. October 7 is wrong. For you to go to civilian areas and kill children and women and rape them, this is wrong. End of the story. This is a massacre. End of the story. And many people, they call it one day of a Holocaust. And let's be honest, we are all disappointed in how the Israeli forces was not there, how the Israeli intelligence failed to see this coming. Of course. Of course. And we all criticize Israel for that. Where have you been? Where is your intelligence? Where is your forces? How your forces took 6 to 8 hours to arrive to defend your own people. It's horrible. But in the end of the day, the magnitude of targeting civilian just because they're Jews, just because they're Christians, this is something that If you don't want to call this a genocide, I don't know what you want to call this. Now, can I ask you a question, Daniel? And I'm not asking you as Israeli, I'm asking you as a human. After six to 8 hours, when the IDF, it was a holiday, and obviously you guys did not learn from Yom Kippur War with the Egyptians. It was exactly the same timing and so on. If nobody stopped them, what do you think will happen? So in 6 to 8 hours, they did all of this: killing, raping, burning, destroying, beheading. Is exactly like ISIS. They are ISIS. But my question to you here is: if nobody stopped them, what do you think will happen?
They would continue to the whole country.
Isn't this a Holocaust? Isn't this a genocide? You have to understand it's in the charter of Hamas is ending Israel and killing all the Jews. I'm sorry to put it this way. It's like in the every organization or a government, they have like what we call a bylaw. You know, it's in the bylaw of Hamas. That's their mandate, killing every Israeli. Let's go back further a little bit. Don't forget that the Quran mentioned the Jews as pigs and monkeys. By the way, I'm not just saying this. Anybody have a Quran they can open and they can see. Google it. Now, can I ask you why this is dangerous that you call the Jew pigs and monkeys? Now, you would tell me, oh, Majid, it's just an insult. Forget about it. It's not a matter of, I don't care about the insult. They can call what anybody can insult anybody. But I will tell you where is the dangerous in this. When the Quran called the Jews pigs and monkeys, it's not just to insult them or integrating them or putting them down. It's dehumanizing them. And that's the danger. Because if I can dehumanize you, it's easier for me to kill you. That's one of the final prophet of the end of time, prophecy in the end of time in the Islam, that every Muslim will kill every Jew to the limit that the Jews will hide behind the tree and rocks, and the tree and the rocks will talk that there is a Jewish behind me, come kill him. That's part of the end of life of the prophecy in Islam. So here is my question. When you are telling me that you have a powerful country with a powerful army that can kill more than 2 million people immediately, and they don't. I think right now we're talking about 60,000 or between 60 and 70,000, in Gaza. Let's assume that 60% of them is Hamas fighters. So, and please do not misunderstand me. I'm not absolutely in killing innocent or civilian women and children. This is, and I think, Daniel, you will join me in this, that you will never allow that.
Of course.
But if you do, it doesn't matter who they are. But if you don't want to kill them, do not put weapons under their schools. Do not put weapons in the hospitals. Do not put weapons in churches. Do not put weapons in mosques. Do not put weapons in a very tense population and fire rockets from there. In the end of the day, I am brokenhearted on what's happening to the Palestinians. And I'm brokenhearted to what happened to the Israelis on October 7 and before and after. But in the end of the day, the young people that we're losing today is really my main concern. The battle is not only now soldier to soldier or uniform to uniform. The battle now is online. The battle now is social media. The battle now, when President Donald Trump said, I am your only friend, he was not necessarily lying. It was to some degree is true. What will happen the next generation? What will happen 20 years from now? when the new generation take over and all of this old generation die. And do you know that there is, in 3 generations from now, everybody that you know and everybody knows you will be gone? In 3 generations from now, everybody that you know, Daniel, and everybody knows you will be gone. So what will happen next? What will happen? Who will take the government in the United States and in Europe? We already lost most of Europe, to be honest. We have to understand that the truth will get harder and harder. And if we cannot sit down and have this honest conversation and show the full evidence of what's happening, this is where we will be making a fatal mistake, because we are losing the public opinion, with my all due respect. For example, after October 7, you have the 42 minutes video. You know what I'm talking about the massacre of October 7, that was made by the IDF, like cameras was taken during the attacks. And it was only shown to people in the media, to politicians, but never public. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
And because the Israelis have respect to their dead, they don't want to show things that will hurt the heart, will break the heart of the families. But the world need to see that. We are right now fighting a propaganda, huge amount of finance coming from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Arab Gulf countries, Iran. And we need to fight this fire with the truth, not with another propaganda or whatever lie. No, just present the evidence to the public. But the next battle, and the battle today, is online, is not just in the battlefield. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, you spoke about Hamas's charter and how they want to kill all the Jews.
Yes.
But this is an offshoot of radical Islam, is Hamas. So is Hamas the disease, or is it the symptom of radical Islam? And if it's the symptom, then can Israel destroy Hamas without defeating this ideology that's behind Hamas?
The disease, the symptoms, and the cancer is radical Islam. Now, you want to call them Hamas, ISIS, Hezbollah, Al Qaeda, Abu Sayyaf group in Philippines, Shabab in Somal, Boko Haram in Nigeria. They are all Al Qaeda. They are all the same. There is no amount of weapons. There is no amount of weapons will make you defeat this ideology. There is no amount of victory or look at the war in Iran today. Let's just be honest about that. Iran is able to survive, not only to survive, but to show that they are actually, was able to make a damage. Of course, with their propaganda. Iran lost their leadership, they lost their military, the navy, they lost everything. And the Iranian regime, just before the war by 2-3 months, they killed more than 50,000 of their own people. The very first victim of the Iranian regime is the Iranian people, even before Israel and the United States. But look how they are surviving today. Let's be honest, because the worst mistake you can do is underestimating your enemy. And we see this happening. They underestimated the war. And today, the nuclear weapon that Iran wanted is the Strait of Hormuz. They ignored this, and now they understood how important it is. And yes, they are using it as a pressure card. Daniel, the one thing that you need to know, the ideology can only be defeated by the truth. As long as there is no accountability for the finance that given. Let me just explain this point. There was millions and millions and billions of dollars was given from Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, to Gaza and the Palestinian Authority with zero accountability from Israel. And Netanyahu himself, who was signing, just send them the money. He thought that if I send them the money, they will be quiet. It's the most stupid decision. They took this money, they took all of this support materials, and they built tunnel. That's what they did. And instead of schools, and instead of hospitals. There was zero accountability on this money. If I am giving you $1 billion for education, show me the schools. Show me the educational books. Why today, when you go to the Emirat, UAE, you can walk with the kippah and you feel free. Why? Because the Emirat, years and years ago, more than a decade ago, decided that they will take all terms of Israel and wars with them and hating the Jews from their school books. So the new generation came. If you want $1 billion for education, show me what you will do with it. Show me what are you teaching. The only way to fight this ideology is not weapons and not F-16. The only way is education, education, education. That's the only way that we will win this war. The next generation, if they understood the meaning and they grow up in the true meaning of peace, that's maybe then we have a hope to stop the war.
Do you have hope that the Gazans, the Palestinians in Gaza that are not Hamas, could reach a point where they no longer think this way about Israel and about Jews?
They already are. They already are. But they do not have the voice. The same like the Iranian people. The Iranian people, I saw many clips, they will take the Israeli flag, they will carry the Israeli flag and the American flags. You know what I mean? People doesn't hate. It's the regime that hates. It's already are. But the problem here is that if you are a citizen and you try to open your mouth with the truth or your real desire of peace or even loving Israel or the United States, you are dead. So there is an opposition, but this opposition is being suppressed, destroyed, persecuted, and killed. And the whole world sitting around did nothing about it. We had an amazing chance when the uprising happened in Iran that we can interfere, because you cannot change a regime from air. With my all due respect to Mr. Netanyahu, Mr. Donald Trump, to all the military leaders, you cannot change a regime from air. This is not a Venezuela. This is not that you will jump, you take the president out and everything will be fine. No, this is our Muslim countries. It's different mentality, different ideology. And the only way to get 77 virgins is to die murder. I don't know why 77 virgins. The big question, though, that everybody needs to answer is it 77 woman or 77 virgin men? Anyway, it's a joke. So anyway, so that it's in reality your only way. So answering your question, yes, I do have hope, and I see people changing, and I see people they are desiring more to have peace and to live a life. We see the changes that happen in the West Bank. We see how the Palestinian government there, you remember it was Fatah, Yasser Arafat. We see the changes, not 100% perfect changes, but we see that there's some changes. The same thing in Lebanon. Look at the people in Lebanon. They don't want Hezbollah. Look at the people in Iran. They don't want the regime. Your best way to fight this is to support the people on the ground in an order to defend themselves and change their own regime by their hand. Thank you.
Now, you've rescued hundreds of Yazidi girls. How did you get involved in these rescue missions? Maybe take us through some of your most memorable moments in these rescue missions.
And there's many of them. And I think the most that touched my heart was a young lady, child, 9 years old, that they used to rape her more than 20 times a day. And one day I was interviewing her and her mom and others, and the mom said if any man would come close to her, she would scream. And in the middle of the interview, I couldn't breathe from the impact of the pain. And I went down to my knees and I asked from all of them to forgive me. So they were shocked. Forgive you for what? You're here to help us. So forgive you for what? And I said, forgive me as a man. I will stand in the gap. As a man, forgive me for what happened to you. As I'm saying this, I felt two little hands hugging me from behind. It was this 9 years old. She needed just to hear this kind words to start the journey of healing. The most remarkable stories that I have is the children that being killed and destroyed and raped, used as a sex slave, not just in with the Yazidis, but the Christians in Pakistan and Nigeria and Boko Haram, and their ability to recover, their ability to fight back, their ability to not to give up hope. We are, as an adult, sometimes we give up quickly. Somehow, God is always with us and we don't see him. You know, sometimes we get very upset from God. And we say, why he didn't stop this? Why he didn't stop that? If God exists, why he didn't stop that? God gave us a very important gift. It's called free will. And it's up to us how to use this free will in good and evil. That's why there is heaven or hell, in my humble opinion, because you have free will. So it's not coming, from God. It's coming from us as a human. And in the time of genocides and massacres, you can see the worst of mankind, but you also can see the good of mankind. You can see the people that helping and the people that fighting for justice, the people coming to help the survivors and the victims. There is the free will, but also I learned the wisdom of God. He's never early and he's never late. He's always on time. That's what I believe.
Yeah. You yourself went through, a very difficult time, being thrown into jail, tortured, escaping, going to Israel, and you could have become bitter, but instead you used your effort to help other people. You became more of a, courageous person. What made you want to help others, to get people, to revive them, uh, when you could have, stopped?
I used to be one of them. I saw the goodness and hope in mankind. There is a church in Tulsa. It's called Blue Flame 47. 47 or 49? 47, I think. Blue Flame, Pastor Scott and Sherry Norbo. They never been in the Middle East. White people from Tulsa. And these people will cry and pray and support the rescue mission of people they were never met before and they would never meet again. Such a remarkable story. I can sit down and tell you how much evil in the world, but I choose to tell you how much goodness in the world. When you sit down and you look at Sherry and Scott, Pastor Sherry and Pastor Scott, you can see God inside their hearts. I am looking at you right now, Daniela, and I can see God in you. I can see it through your soul, through your smile. And may God bless you and bless your family.
Amen.
There's many examples of people came to my life and they were just wonderful people. And they changed my life and they stood beside me. I can mention names and it will take me weeks and weeks to finish this list. Everybody got brought to my life, changed my life in an amazing way. I saw the goodness of mankind. I decide to do something because I used to be one of them. Our world divided to two zones, Daniel, a conflict zone and a comfort zone. And the conflict zone is the front line. The comfort zone is where me and you live right now in Canada or United States. And by the way, we will never be 51 states. Just I want to make this very clear, Daniel. um, we choose to get out of the comfort zone. You choose to get out of the. You can stay home, do business, and you can raise your family. Why did you do a YouTube to stand for Israel, to stand tall for Israel? You will get a lot of hate emails here, but you have to do the right thing. Didn't you, Daniel?
Sure.
There is many people that they did the right thing. There is many heroes. You know, when I was child, I thought that heroes is the one that wearing a mask and jumping from one building to another. As I grew up and time left his mark on my weak human flesh, I realized that the real superheroes is the one that serve God, serve their country, protect their family, provide to the best of their ability. I learned that the true heroes is the one that not wearing a customs. They are the one that using their shield is their integrity, and their sword is their truth, and they will not compromise on the truth and righteousness. That's what I believe.
Mm-hmm. When you think of Israel, do you have hope for its future? Do you have a hope that there can be a day when they're not constantly fighting the enemies that want to destroy them? Um, you know, is this the do we see an uh, a bright future, or is it going to be more of what was in the past?
My first fear when it comes to Israel is the unity of Israel. I think my main fear how the gap is increasing between the left and wing in Israel. And I went to Tel Aviv and I saw demonstrations and I saw my first fear and hope for Israel is their unity. You know, when October 7 happened, I wrote a thing in the movie that we did. I wrote a thank you. Thank you for Hamas. And people was like, what? Are you thanking Hamas? I was like, yes. Thanks for Hamas for showing us the ugly face of terrorism, to show us the truth about Muslim extremists. Thanks for Hamas for uniting Israel. Thanks for Hamas for waking us up to what really we're fighting for. The first concern that I have and the first hope that I have for Israel is the unity of Israel. Number one. Number two, my hope that Israel will be able to sustain itself and to be an independent country. So that political changes that taking place around the world does not affect their ability to survive. But my main hope that the Muslim neighbors, I will not even say the Arab neighbors, because there is many Arab neighbors from different, you have Druze in Syria, you have, Alawim, Christians, you have many minorities. So I would say the Muslim neighbors to understand the desire for peace, to understand is the only way moving forward, not just for the future of Israel, but for the future of their kids. In every war, nobody wins. We all lose. Is as simple as that. In the end of the day, I believe that will happen. I believe that God will stand with us. And I believe that He will never leave us behind. I always close every interview that I make by one statement. After every night, there is new morning carrying new day. After every storm, there is sunshine. And after every persecution, there is victory in Jesus' name. Remember this, Daniel, and maybe this is the last thing I was tell you. They can always kill the dreamer, but nobody can kill the dream. They can kill the believers, but no one can kill the belief of our hearts. I believe that God will prevail, light will prevail, human kindness will prevail. You know, Daniel, I used to ask God to make me brave. He never gave me bravery. He gave me a situation to be brave. He gave me a danger to be brave in. I asked God for love, and He sent me people that they are troubled, and I have to love them anyway. I asked God for freedom, and He made me fight for justice. If you are looking for a miracle of God, if you are waiting for a miracle in your life, look in the mirror. You are His biggest miracle. Thank you for having me then.
Wow. Reverend Majed El Shafie, thank you so much for your time. I was truly touched by this conversation, very much inspired, and I'm sure that our audience will be as well. How can they follow you? How can they see your documentary? How can they be more involved in what you're doing?
They will find me in the FBI most wanted list. I'm joking. It's a joke, sorry.
We have
So,
to talk about that.
so it's our website, www.onefreeworldinternational.org or FWI, OFWI. And you can Google Majed El Shafie. You will find everything on us. On our website, you will be able to receive our action alerts. You will be able to donate if you want to donate. And if none of the above, keep us in your prayers. And we thank you for thinking of us.
Thank you.
Bless you.